Hey everybody, welcome to another edition of the Ronline Report. I'm trying to sound more animated because you guys tell me I need to sound more animated. Today we have a very special guest, Jon Delarosa. Jonathan, welcome. Thanks for joining us.
What's up, Ron? How are you guys?
Very good, very good. So we'll start with all the real recent relevant stuff, of course. I just saw you compete a couple times over the past few weeks.
Yep.
So you've done 3 shows so far this season.
Yep.
Let's start with the first one. Well, actually, you know what? I want to start with what I think is the most fascinating topic here. You prepped yourself for these shows.
Yeah.
Is this the first time you've prepped yourself, or the first time in a very long time?
First time in a really long time since I was an amateur that I stepped outside of the comfort of trusting somebody else with my prep and did it on my own. Yeah.
What led to that? What led to that decision?
Well, a number of things. Some of them we'll talk about now. Some of them we'll talk about later. But basically, the last several years. So let's start at the beginning. When I turned pro, we kind of, or even before I turned pro, actually going into the USA's as a heavy favorite, you kind of get this sense of you need a coach. They would know better than you. You need a coach. And so you get this idea stuck in your head. And ever since the year before I turned pro with the USA's, I had a coach. Whereas I got myself to that point. I got myself to the top of the amateur ranks on my own with the help of Victor, obviously, but on our own, doing everything on our own. And I kind of just got myself stuck in that rut. And hold on one second. I'm getting a call here. Yeah. Can you still hear me okay?
I can hear you. I can't see you, though.
Okay. Is the video going to be playing during the thing or no?
Absolutely.
Oh, man.
Look at it. Cut you off?
Oh, there you go. Can you see me now?
Yeah. Okay.
All right. So I kind of got in the rut of, trusting other people with my career, pretty much. And after a while, the last several years, as you guys know, I kind of noticed that, you're shelling out money and you're not getting the results that you're paying for. Or look, in this sport and with your body, just because you pay for X, Y doesn't always lead to Z, right? We know that and we understand that.
Yeah.
Your body doesn't always respond exactly the way you plan for it to. Now, with that said, when you lay out a plan, A, B should equal C or somewhere close to C, and you're landing up in fucking F, there's something wrong, And I got tired of asking why, what's going on, what's happening, and took control of the situation and said, you know what? I'm not going to ask for permission anymore. I'm going to figure this out on my own, and it worked out.
Well, I mean, I've seen you many times. I haven't seen all your shows, but I've seen you compete probably about close to a dozen times now, I think. The way you look in New York and the way you look in Toronto, as far as I'm concerned, it's close to the best you've ever looked.
Yeah.
And to say that you did that on your own, from this point on, how could you justify using a coach when you got just as good a look on your own or damn close to it?
Right. I don't think that I'd ever use a coach. If I will say this, Chris Aceto is an amazing coach. He's a friend of mine as well. Probably the best at what he does. And he'll tell you this himself. It's not for any other reason, like he knows some magic secret. It's more or less that he just kind of helps you figure things out on your own anyways.
Yeah.
He's not one of these coaches that tells you need to do this and this and this and that's it. There's no way. I mean, he'll sit there and talk to you about what you feel is best.
Yeah.
So you're kind of almost doing your own thing anyways. He just kind of talks you into it.
Right.
Now, I will say that he does obviously know a little bit more than we do when it comes to nutrition when you get stuck in stuff. But other than that, I don't think I'd ever use anybody else. I mean, I think that I kind of not going to say I understand everything, but I kind of understand my body better than anybody else.
Yeah.
And I think that's the way it should be. I think that, like I said, I got away from that for a little while, thinking that because I was a pro, I needed somebody that had been around longer and understood. And that's not necessarily the case. Nobody will ever know my body or know what my body's feeling more than I will. And I think if we stop and we listen to it as athletes, you'll get better results.
And I don't want to throw any coach under the bus because I have a few of them that I consider friends.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, when I started out following the sport and talking to pros many, many years ago, that whole concept didn't exist. There were no coaches. There were no gurus.
Right.
People were consistently in shape. Everybody looked great at the shows.
Right. It's a business.
At what point did we decide we needed coaches?
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's a business, and they, again, and I'm friends with many of the guys as well. I'm friends with George and Chris Aceto and Factory and, all the guys, Hani. Yeah. But it's a business that they, I don't want to say took advantage of, but they saw a place that they could fill a void for a lot of people.
Right.
They filled it and they capitalized on it, and good for them. They probably made a shit ton of money, yes. Which is great. But at the same time, I think in doing so, we as athletes have lost that responsibility, the meticulousness, the attention to detail. I mean, just everything. I had more fun this prep than I've had in years, because I felt like a kid again. I was writing everything down. I was, sometimes going crazy over the stupidest things, and then looking back at it and I was like, wow, that was so dumb. Why did I obsess over eating an extra ounce of chicken? Like it really made that much of a difference, but it was cool going through all those experiences again and figuring out things for myself and feeling comfortable making decisions for my career again. At the end of the day, whether I was my best with Chris Aceto or not,
yeah,
or with myself or not, doesn't really matter at the end of the day, as long as I get to the Olympia and I'm one of the top guys. So that's what matters. Nobody's going to care about how I got there.
Right. Okay. So let's talk about these shows. We have to.
Yeah.
Now, you live in White Plains, New York, correct?
I live in White Plains, yes. It's going to be the most painful conversation.
So, the show moved to White Plains this year, the New York Pro.
Yeah.
Literally, 5 minutes from your house? 10 minutes from your house?
Yeah, about a minute drive.
A minute drive. I mean, it seemed just like, this would be so awesome for Jon to win this. He lives right there, and it's a show you've done a few times, and it was one of those times, a lot of shows that we go to, this guy's going to win, and then it's like, oh, well, who do you think's going to be second, third, fourth? This was not one of those. You and Sergio, condition-wise, he was a little bit sharper.
Yeah.
I like your, this is no diss on it. I have nothing personally against anybody. I like your physique better.
Yeah.
Because I know you better. I could think you're a scumbag, and if I think you have a great physique, I'll tell you, great physique.
Yeah.
I like your physique better, the shape, the structure, everything. So I didn't know how it was going to go. You didn't know how it was going to go. I'm sure a lot of people were telling you, oh, you got this, and that's how it always is at these shows. If you're close, it's an opinion sport, so there's going to be a sizable amount of people who think Delarosa's got this, and then there's going to be another chunk says, oh no, Sergio's got this, and we don't know until 9 or 10 o'clock that night when the.
Well, it wasn't close after prejudging. I know that.
It wasn't. You saw the scores.
Huh?
What, from the score sheets, you're saying?
Yeah, from the score sheets, it wasn't close. I had straight first.
Wow. So you had straight first going into the finals.
Yep.
So.
Yeah, like I said, this is going to be a painful one.
Yeah. So, how do you explain going from straight first to not winning?
The better athlete won that day for whatever reason. I like Serge. Serge is a good dude, and this is not a knock on him or but speaking physique for physique.
Yeah.
I'm just a better bodybuilder.
Yeah.
Right now, at this point in my career, I'm a better bodybuilder.
Yeah.
There's less holes in my physique.
Yeah.
And to me, I've been around this sport for a long time. Obviously, Sergio has as well. When you're scoring bodybuilders on stage, I think the person with the less weaknesses should walk away as the winner.
Yeah.
That did not happen that day. I
Yeah.
think everybody can agree with that. That the person with the less weakness on that stage did not win. But that's the way the cookie crumbles, man. I think that a champion needs to be a champion in defeat as well.
Yeah.
And I've only been an IFBB Pro champion once in my career at the 2015 Chicago Pro.
Yeah.
But I carry myself that way not because I've won numerous titles or because I won one title or whatever. I carry myself that way because people look up to us, and I feel we have a duty to just to be professional in the way we speak about things, the way we carry ourselves, the way we present ourselves. And, you know, a lot of people are going to say, oh, you know, they're going to make a big story about this and say, Jon thinks he's better than Sergio. Well, yeah, I'm supposed to think I'm better than Sergio. And just as likely that Sergio probably thinks he's better as an athlete than I am. We both trained really, really hard. My family, almost everybody came out. The whole neighborhood. I mean, if anybody from New York was in there, I mean, that place was going crazy when I was on stage.
Yes, yes.
They were there to see me win. I had done the work to win, and everybody left disappointed.
Yeah.
And great for, you know, it was a great win for Sergio. I'm super proud of the kid. Look, if you would have asked anybody, nobody thought he was going to win that show.
Yeah.
You know, structurally, he doesn't have a great structure. He's not very well put together, kind of a funny shape,
yeah.
Little boxy, great quads, great condition, but nobody thought he was going to walk in there and shut it down the way he did, and he did, and that's fucking huge.
Yeah.
And Serge is a good dude, you know. We've had many conversations. I know the struggles and the battles he's gone through because of the name that he carries, and look, if people are going to walk away from this interview and say Sergio, you know, walked away with the win because of his last name, you're shitting yourself. You're wrong. The kid came in the best he's ever been, yeah. And he beat a lot of very good pros, including myself.
Yeah.
So my hats go off to him and Chris Aceto. They really did an amazing job. And like I said, that's another bridesmaid second place for me.
So that was your...
I racked up a few of them over the years.
Yeah, I hate to keep score, but that was number 4. Number 5 happens 1 week later in Toronto. I got my free T-shirt on, by the way.
Oh, nice.
Cheap ass, whatever I can have for free. So yeah, I mean, the next week, similar situation in that I didn't know who they were going to go with.
Yeah.
You know, you and Johnny have different strengths, different weaknesses.
Yeah.
Different thing. You know, legs. Obviously your legs are much better than his.
Yeah.
Condition-wise, from the back, you had the glutes and the hams. He did not.
Yep.
You know, he's got things going for him. He's got a lot of muscle density. He's got detail, old man muscle. He's 44, 45, however old he is.
This is a funny one for me because, I mean, if you would have told me Sergio was going to win New York, although I don't think he should have, I could have believed that one a little bit more.
Really? Okay.
And although it hurt like fucking hell to lose, you know, my backyard, I bit that one on the bullet and said, you know what? I could have seen that coming just because of a lot of other, you know, things that you know, like I said, I mean, the kid was a little bit harder than me in areas like, you know, depending on what the judging panel is looking for, if they're, I mean, maybe they overlooked that he's got a little bit wider of a waist and not that big of a, you know, of a back, or his arms weren't really back. I don't know, you know, but the physique is a little bit more complete to me than a Johnny Jackson. And I love Johnny. I grew up watching Johnny. You know, a great dude. I love talking to him. But again, I don't take things personal with these guys. It's the judging panel that does what they do, and you know that's the way the cookie crumbles. But for me, speaking on physiques again, that one hurt a lot more because if I'm on a judging panel, 10 times out of 10, if there's a guy with that kind of upper body and that kind of a lower body, He's not placing well. If I'm judging, he's not placing well.
Right.
Way too much of an imbalance going on. And listen, you know, both losses, both second places, I have text messages and emails from thousands of fans and top pros that are like, dude, ouch. But again, you know, the judges saw it one way, and as an athlete, you kind of just have to dust yourself off and keep going. And it's a really proud moment for me because although I lost, there were a lot of things that I gained, and I think moving forward, as an athlete, I will be better from those situations. You know, if you look at my look that I presented in New York, I wanted to come in big, full, and hard. Yeah. And I did. For Toronto, I came in almost 3 pounds lighter, and I was detailed everywhere. Lines in my glutes, hamstrings, quads, abs were deep, upper back, everything was there.
Yes.
And then for this past weekend in Kansas City, I wanted to come somewhere in between. I knew Victor was probably going to win. We were training together going into the show. He looked amazing. So I would have been happy with a second or third place. And I'm happy with the fourth place. I mean, Charles Griffin and Gerald Williams are, Gerald, what a physique on that kid, huh?
Yeah.
Amazing physique. Charles looks like a fucking Johnny Jackson, just super thick everywhere.
Yeah.
You know, so I was happy there too, but I was able to bring something in between New York and Toronto, which is what I was shooting for too. So it's cool to be able to manipulate things. And like I said, I didn't get a win this season, but I learned a hell of a lot. So it was cool. Okay,
so 3 different looks, 3 different shows.
Mm-hmm.
Which one would you bring to the next show?
I really liked my New York Pro look. I think that's a look that can battle the top 10 on the Olympia stage. I think that's the look that does well on the Olympia stage. It really depends where I'm competing. I mean, the Olympia stage is a big man stage. So I think the muscle fullness and the hardness that I brought to that stage would do really, really well at the Olympia. If I bought the Toronto look, I would probably end up somewhere, 12 to 15.
Yeah.
Just because that density wasn't there. So if I'm going to the Olympia, absolutely bring in that New York Pro package. I was somewhere around 240 pounds there.
Yeah.
Had a really, really just good feeling going into the show, and that's the look I like.
Okay. So point-wise, you probably have enough points to go to the Olympia.
Yeah.
Are you going to the Olympia?
No.
Okay. Why is that?
I feel that, I know a lot of people don't agree with this, but I'm not taking the back door in. That's a little funny, but I can't take hand me out and go to the Olympia. Look, next time, I've promised myself this, next time I step on the Olympia stage, it's not to be a 10 to 15 guy or a 10 to 20 guy. I'm going to be one of the best in the world one day, and that is my goal. I've set out to be one of the top guys, and I won't stop till I get there. So for me, it'd almost be a waste of time to take the points, go to the Olympia, and place, even if I place 10th or 8th, that's not where I want to be. I want to be top 6. I want to be top 5, and there's plenty of work to be done. I realize that. Obviously, if I can't win one of these shows here, locally, or I don't have any business being on that stage or trying to represent myself as one of the best in the world when I'm not quite there yet.
So, you're 240 pounds in great condition on stage, no weak body parts. You bring the condition.
Mm-hmm.
You've made tremendous improvements since you won the USA way back when.
Yeah.
So what do you still think you need to improve on to get to that level?
So it's funny, Victor and I were just having this conversation literally minutes before you called me to do this interview. And, I'm looking over my physique and reviewing things. And the only thing that I can think of right now is that I need to stop doing such heavy compound lifting. I don't do much of I get bored fucking tables and shit. I don't like it. I like bench pressing. I like squatting. I like rowing. You know, barbell rolls. I like doing that stuff. That's why I like going in the gym. Fuck, I mean, I watched Dorian Yates Blood and Guts 400,000 times before I go in the gym. You know? That's the stuff that I like to do. And Victor knows that, and he was kind of like, you know, you need to get it in your head. You need to start squeezing and etching more detail into the muscle, because although I'm very, very thick front to back, I put on a lot of muscle tissue. There's not a lot of
detail.
You know, a lot of detail. Like the lines in my glutes are thick, and my across my chest they're good, but there's not a lot of detail anywhere else. And I think that's where I need to really start to just, you know, dig in deep and do those annoying little exercises.
Well, you know, I don't know necessarily if it comes from a different training style, because, you know, I'm brutally honest to the point where people hate me sometimes. But when I looked at you, when I looked at Johnny in Toronto, your legs are, I don't know if they're twice the size. They're much, much larger. Put it that way. Yeah. But Johnny's legs, even though they're smaller, there's all kinds of lines and details and little nooks and crannies and grooves. You've got these enormous billowing quads with awesome sweep, but there's just not a lot of that going on. And I think if you had that, you know, like Rami, well, why is it Rami Mr. Olympia? If Rami had all that shit going on, like Heath does,
oh, forget it,
nobody would beat that motherfucker for 10 years.
No, so, no way. No way.
Listen to Victor.
That's exactly what I'll be chasing and working on this year. Like you said, I mean, it's hard to tell whether that's muscle maturity or if it's different training. At this point, I'm willing to give it, you know, everything I've got, whatever it takes. If I got to sit there and do 400 fucking leg extensions to get that, that's what I'm going to do. Every time I got to train legs, whatever it is, I'm going to try it and make sure that I get it done. There's a lot of work to be done, Ron. You know, we've been friends a long time. We've been doing these interviews a long time, and I've always been very, very passionate about being one of the best in the world. And slowly but surely, I've worked my way to where I'm at now. Yeah. I was explaining myself to Guy Cisternino earlier, and how I felt, and he was like, "Man, you should just go to the Olympia." And I was like, "Guy, I'm still the middle of the pack guy. Yeah. I'm not the top. I'm not one of the, you know, I'm not saying I want to be Phil Heath. I mean, fuck, I want to be Mr. Olympia, of course. Yeah. But what I'm saying is I'm not one of the top guys in the sense that when you think about the top guys, you think about Dexter, you think about Sean, you think about Phil, of course, you think about Ramy, Rolly. I'm not talked about in that group. Yeah. And that bothers me. Not because I feel I should be, because I don't deserve to be talked about in that group. Yeah. But because I expect myself to get there. Right. And I expect the work that I'm doing to get me there. And I'm not quite there yet. And I realize that. And like I said, there's work to be done. And I'm looking forward to getting, you know, putting my head down, putting my hoodie up, and get right to it again. You know, as for what my plans are right now, I am really excited about. That's my dog. He sees a bird outside. He wants to go chase and kill. Okay. As for my plans for next year, I'm really excited and looking forward to competing at my first Arnold Classic here in Ohio. So nice. That's what I'm looking forward to. I want to make a big splash there and see what kind of damage I can do on that stage.
Yeah, because you know you made a good point. I want to reiterate it because there's a lot of people out there who aren't that experienced with all this. You know, they just think, well, you build all the muscle you need to build, which you've done, and then you strip off all the body fat, and that should be it. You should be all finished. But it's, as you're proving, as you're explaining, that's not how this sport goes. There's refinement, there's maturing, there's detail, and those are all very real things that a lot of people don't quite comprehend. Right. And once you get that, you're golden. I really think you are.
Yeah, I mean, that's the goal. I mean, you have to look. It's funny too. I go into shows and I'm super, super real. Like, it's almost bad how real I can be with myself. I almost call that lineup in Kansas City exactly how it landed. I had myself before the week. I had myself in 5th place. I thought Johnny was going to be 4th and I'd be 5th, or vice versa, somewhere there. But it happened, you know, and for my family, like, how could you think like that going into a show? And there's a few reasons why I do that. One, I think you would be naive not to know your competition. You'd be naive not to look at your competition's strengths and their weaknesses. You're going to be on stage with these guys, and if, for instance, if I was going on stage to battle with Johnny Jackson, I know that my quads are my strong point.
Yeah.
So I'm going to show them off as much as I possibly can to show the judges, hey, look, I have quads.
Yeah.
Right? So I think that's one reason. I think the other reason is to allow yourself to be a better athlete. You need to have realistic expectations of yourself. If you're going to go into a competition and say, if I'm going into a competition, let's say the Olympia, and I'm going to like, I'm trained to be Mr. Olympia, you're probably going to let yourself down and put yourself into a slump and you know, not be as effective as you can possibly be. Now, if I set realistic goals, I mean, I set several different goals. One of my goals was to place second at this show behind Victor. Again, I saw Victor going into the show. I knew I wasn't going to be able to beat him. But if I would have placed second, that was my quote-unquote unrealistic goal. My realistic goal was to play somewhere in that top 5.
Yeah.
So, you know, realistically, like I said, who knows what it's going to take for me to get that crazy muscle maturity detail. Just, you know, look at Akeem. You know, Akeem has moved more poundages than any other bodybuilder I know on this planet, including Johnny Jackson.
Yeah.
Akeem is probably the strongest bodybuilder in the circuit today. But he's another one that struggles with that detail. And him and I lift alike a lot. And a lot of lifts, we like that heavy compound. That's what we like to do. Now, I'm not nearly as strong as him, but if you look at our physiques, we're both lacking the same thing, that crazy crisp detail.
Yeah.
But I'm very real with myself. I see that, and I'm going to make the adjustments. If I can figure it out, I will figure it out, and I will make that change for next season for sure.
Now, I've asked you this in interviews before, but you know, a lot of people won't have heard those. You've competed in a lot of these shows with your good friends, with Victor, with Juan Morel, with Akeem, guys that you've trained with, guys that you've been to their homes and their friends. Is it tougher in a sense competing with guys that you know that well? Because, you know, you don't, I don't know, do you not want to beat them? Do you want to beat them? Is it kind of an uncomfortable thing?
The only person I wouldn't feel comfortable beating at this point in his career is Victor. I think Victor's in a very, just a very weird place for himself in his career. He finds himself, you know, doing these shows, and, you know, in my eyes, I mean, he was the clear victor on Saturday.
Yeah.
In his eyes, he felt he should have walked in there and just shut it down. There shouldn't even have been a final call out, which I understand. But, you know, I can't imagine myself beating Victor and, you know, making him feel like, all right, well, that's my career. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
Like that's not. Now, any one of my other friends, Juan, Akeem, when we're on stage, we're very aware of, we're still family. At the end of the day, Juan might come to my house, Victor might come to my house, or I might go to their house. We're going to break bread together on Sunday afternoon, and we're going to, you know, there's nothing, that all stays on the stage.
Yeah.
We're all fighting for the same check. We're all training for the same check. But at the end of the day, at least in my eyes, we're family first. And I always say this, look, if we're all going into a competition, if we lock up those top spots, all of us, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, however many of us are on that stage, I'm happy. I don't really care what order.
Yeah.
As long as we're all doing well.
Right.
And that's what matters most to me.
All right. Let's talk about your actual family now for a second, if we can.
Yeah.
Most people know that your dad was the original bodybuilder, William, in the family, got you interested in it. Him and your uncle were both bodybuilders, and your dad didn't start competing until later in life. He started competing around the same time as you. Is that right?
Yeah. I was actually the one that kind of forced him to do it. We've lived this life for so long, you know. I mean, literally, as far back as I can remember, I was watching the Mr. Olympia, sitting on the couch with him, watching Sean Ray and Kevin Larone in their stupid tights, training in the morning and teaching people how to do a bicep curl.
Yeah.
I mean, like I said, as far back as I can remember, he's lived this lifestyle, eating chicken and rice and potatoes and steak and driving my mom nuts. But he never got on stage, and then I got older, and I wanted to get on stage. And he was fully supportive of that. I went a few years and competed, you know, at a bunch of natural organizations. I was kicking butt. And then I competed in NPC, and I was really motivated by that opportunity because I guess structurally I was doing so well on the natural circuit. I was winning pretty easily.
Yeah.
And then I heard about the NPC, and I competed, and I was like, wow, these guys are actually really good. Like, there's competition for me here, you know?
Yeah.
And I told my dad, I was like, Dad, why don't you just do it? You know, you're doing it anyways. Like, he would diet with me.
Yeah.
You know, he would, every one of my competitions that I did before he actually stepped on stage, he was in shape.
Wow.
Because he would diet with me, he would do his cardio with me, he was training with me. He just didn't actually get on stage, you know, like it just never crossed his mind. I think he felt he was too old. So we had heard about the Masters division, and I was like, you could just do the Masters division and you can do the Open with me.
Yeah.
And yeah, he ended up jumping on stage with me and fell in love with it, and kind of gives him purpose to what he does and the lifestyle he lives anyways. So it's cool for me to see him get on stage. I get more nervous when he's getting on stage than when I'm even doing the Olympia. I'm more nervous when he's doing the, you know, fucking Team U.
So speaking of which, what, is he getting ready for anything? Because I'm an old guy. I follow these guys like myself.
Yeah.
I like to see what they're doing. What's William up to?
He wanted to do the Masters Nationals. Last year, he had went to the doctor, and they kind of gave him a little bit of a scare. They made him go through some, like a cardiac test or whatever. Yep. So the doctor we go to, his name is Dr. Rattati. He's a big bodybuilding fan, but he's a little paranoid.
Sure.
So he saw things in my dad's blood results that kind of set off alarms, and he made him do this, you know, stress test and all that. Everything came back fine. Yeah. But that kind of put the brakes on things for this upcoming Team U. So now he's looking at the Masters Nationals. I think it's sometime in August or something. Yeah. Like that.
Right. Because for the viewers who aren't familiar, very, very similar physique. I mean, you definitely, I don't know what your mom looks like or looked like, but you definitely got your genetics from Pop Delarosa.
Oh yeah, we are definitely definitely very similar.
You're kind of a little clone.
Yeah. He's got a thicker back than I do. His arms are better than mine.
Really?
Yeah, he's got the shape of his arms are a little bit rounder. I hate mine. They're very big, but they're not. They don't have pretty shape to them. I have a longer bicep head. He has a shorter bicep head it's rounder. Yeah. I just like that look better. And his back is very thick too.
Yeah. Okay. Now the other half of you, the Jon Delarosa, your wife.
Yeah.
She's been doing pretty well. She's figure, right? Figure.
Yeah, she does figure. Yeah, she's been kicking butt. I'm very, very proud of my wife. It's funny, like, you know, it's kind of like the family business. We're all into it. We all, even my uncle's wife, Irina, she just competed in bikini. So it's like we're all into it. We're all training, dieting, eating. Again, it's been part of my family for so long. But it's pretty cool to watch, you know, like I said, watch my wife. We were in Australia, and man, I'm just so proud of, you know, the athlete that she is, the woman that she is. And, you know, outside of what everybody sees on stage, I mean, just the person that she is at home, and, you know, what she wants to do with her, the platform that she has now to help women with eating disorders and stuff like that. So we're working on a few different projects for her to kind of get that message out there.
Is it easier for you guys when you're both prepping for the same shows, or do you prefer one of you is prepping and the other one can kind of be You know, the helper, the supporter.
It really makes no difference. We kind of, I mean, in my household, in my home, with me and Swan, we don't really eat any differently throughout the year. So we're always cooking chicken, steak, fish. Really doesn't make a difference. Not at least for me. I don't know how she feels about it. Um, but yeah, it's pretty easy. I mean, she understands obviously what I have to go through, and I understand what she has to go through too. So if we're not doing it together, you know, I enjoy being her supporter and her helper. I hate being the supporter and helper on, like, when she's on stage and watching.
Yeah.
I get knots in my stomach. I almost feel like throwing up. It's terrible.
Well, I mean, what about her? I mean, she must go through hell when you're on stage too, I guess.
Yeah. You know, no one. She's like a quiet, strong. Nobody's as bad as my dad. My dad is. Swear to God, he'll ask me 400 times, "Are you okay? Do you feel okay?" I'm like,
Yeah.
Dad, just relax.
Yeah. What was his reaction after New York Pro?
Oh, yeah.
Livid?
Well, no, nobody was livid. We were all just kind of, what the fuck just happened?
It's like shell shocked.
Yeah. Again, the consensus was, we didn't see the scorecards obviously until after the show, but the consensus was, walking out of the building and prejudging,
yeah,
was that I smoked them. I felt I smoked them.
Yeah.
And you know, again, it's just physiques.
Right.
Again, this is not a knock on Sergio, and I have to make that clear. Sergio is a good friend of mine. But just speaking on physiques, I just felt I had a much better package. And so did mostly everybody else, including a lot of other top pros that were there and saw pictures. But, you know.
Well, I don't want to get off into too much of a tangent on that, but I mean, judging is obviously very subjective. It's just opinion. So
yeah.
Have you judged yourself? Have you judged shows?
Yeah, I've judged shows. Yeah.
So when you got two physiques up there, one's more complete, and the other one's less complete but better condition. One judge is going to go with this guy. One judge is going to go with that guy, and you have 5 or 7 of these people, and you crunch all the numbers, and sometimes it goes one way and sometimes it goes the other.
That's exactly, you know, that's why I said, you know, I can see with that one, it's not like he's missing, you know, a lower body.
Yeah.
Or missing, you know, he's not missing anything. Is my physique prettier? Yeah, maybe. I think so. Am I more complete in the sense that I don't have as many weaknesses? Yeah, but it's not like he's missing legs or he's missing arms or he's not really missing anything either.
Yeah.
There's just body parts that are more underdeveloped.
Yeah.
So that's why I said that one wasn't as hard to swallow as Toronto.
Okay.
Yeah.
I haven't spoken to you in quite some time, you know, in a formal interview. So the last time we spoke, you had this retail place called Nutrition Locker, where you and Swan, it was in New Rochelle, I believe.
Oh yeah.
And the last I heard, you were looking into possibly opening a second location, and from what I understand, that you don't have that business anymore, or you decided to give it up.
Without going too much into detail.
Yeah.
Basically, what happened was we were doing really well. Bodybuilding was. My career as a bodybuilder was also doing very well. I was traveling a lot, and I needed help running the store. Unfortunately, I got into a very bad partnership with some really, you know, it was not a good partnership, and I was taken advantage of pretty much, and that's how the cookie crumbled on that one.
Yeah.
So it was unfortunate. I ended up losing my business, and yeah, that was it.
Okay. Well, you know, you have some perspective now, and you've learned things the hard way. So I'm hoping that you can take a minute here and give some advice out, because you've been through this process that a lot of these kids out there watching you dream about. They want to turn pro, they want the contracts, they want to compete in the shows, be famous, this and that. Now you've been there and done that. Now you're still on the climb, but you know, what could you tell these young guys out there who aspire to be a pro bodybuilder, as far as what to expect and what not to expect?
Yeah. Well, I think number one, the first thing we have to do is to plan a life outside of bodybuilding. Um, Guys, I wish I could tell you that being a bodybuilder is easy when you land a contract, and for some it is, but for very, very few. Um, Most bodybuilders that I talk to and that I'm friends with have to have another means of income. I am not the kind of person who is going to be out in the streets doing illegal things. So plan for a life outside of bodybuilding. Any little bit of income that you may get through bodybuilding, invest in yourself. Be it a store the way I did, a business, a t-shirt company, something, anything that will help ease the financial burden of being a bodybuilder, because the sport is not cheap.
Right.
Secondly, I think a lot of us, and you and I have spoken offline about this, a lot of us need to start respecting ourselves as bodybuilders a little bit more, and demand more when we are asked to do things. There's a lot of publications and supplement companies and so on and so forth that benefit greatly off of the use of our image, our voices, our videos, anything with our likeness. Whether you're posing for a picture or using an interview or whatever it is, companies will benefit from it. They're getting paid, advertising dollars for it, sponsorships for it, whatever it is, they are making money off of it, and they're only making the money off of your image. So if we stand up as a whole and say, no, you know what, we demand that these multi-million-dollar companies, because that's what a lot of these companies are in this industry, multi-million dollars, we demand a little bit more for using our image. You're selling these supplements because you're putting our image on them.
Right.
If we demand a little bit more as a whole, I think we'll get that. But I think that we don't have, I don't think we have the intelligence. I think that a lot of people don't understand the way the business of bodybuilding works and the way these companies use our images to sell product. And I don't think that we are together. We're not one. Everybody's kind of out there trying to get the most that they can for themselves, and not thinking about bodybuilders as a whole, or this industry as a whole, I should say, the athletes in this industry, because it's not just bodybuilding, it's the athletes in this industry.
Now, that being said, we've also spoken, I mean, everyone's aware of the social media, how much it's really changed the whole game,
Right.
You're younger. I'm closer in age to your dad, and we can remember that if you weren't in the magazines, you didn't exist. Nobody knew who you were.
Right.
There was like a TV, American Muscle TV show, but there was a very small group of people, magazine publishers, photographers, and they controlled all the publicity.
Right.
And that's when, you basically had to go out to California, do it. Basically, you had to be available for them, or else you didn't exist. But now, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Snapchat, you can become a superstar without even competing now. And there's people who have really taken their own careers in their hands, like, a Dana Lynn Bailey is a good example.
Exactly.
Even someone like a Rich Piana who doesn't compete, and he's technically, I don't even know if I consider him a bodybuilder, but you know what I mean. But there's a whole group of people now, the CT Fletchers. They've made their own fame and fortune on their own through social media. I mean, is that something? Obviously, it's going to keep trending that way into the future. Would you agree?
Yeah, I mean, look, social media is a business. I treat it as a business. It is a business, and I think that the athletes coming up through the ranks today need to realize that. Even somebody is, Victor's not old, but I have to teach Victor about social media, because he's that guy. He's like, I don't want to deal with this shit. This is not, that's not the way he was brought up. It's not something he's used to. So, but it's very important if you're looking to be somebody in the sport now, to maximize your influence on social media, get yourself out there.
And I just want to point out, everybody, IFBB Jon Delarosa on Instagram, 216,000 followers. Not too shabby, John. Not too shabby.
Yeah. That's I try to engage with my audience as much as I can. And again, guys, you have to realize that it is a business. People want to see what you're doing, see what you're eating, how you're training, programs you might have to offer with training, nutrition, clothing, whatever it is. You have to utilize all those things and maximize them to your benefit, because again, the way of publication deals and big contracts and all that stuff is going away, and largely because of social media.
Right.
People don't want to advertise in magazines as much anymore because they can advertise on social media and give a kid like myself with 200,000 followers a few jugs of protein a month, cost him nothing, and he'll post it all over his page.
Yeah, cool.
And that's the way the business has gone.
All right. So, what do you got coming up in the rest of the year? What are your rough plans?
Rough plans. I'm gonna be helping Victor fucking smash the Olympia. I would love to see him in the top 6 again, which I think is very, very doable. I know a lot of people are gonna listen to this interview and say, no way, he's done, he's washed up. Let me tell you something. Victor, in my eyes, and again, I love Victor like he's my family, but I'm removing the name Victor and looking at that physique and looking at what he was able to do in 3 weeks in Kuwait. I was there watching it. If Victor is able to remove a lot of the stressors in his life, financial, personal, whatever it is that's going on in his life that creates problems, Victor is still a top 3 to top 5 Olympian.
Yeah.
If he is able to put that time in the gym, get every single meal down, get all the supplements he needs, he can compete with the best of the best.
Yeah.
The shape is still there. The muscle's hanging on. It's just consistency at this point. If he's able to get into the gym, train hard every single day going to the Olympia, there's no reason why he can't be top 6.
Right. Well, I don't want to make this all about Victor, but let's not forget, people, this guy was a very, very close second to Jay Cutler in the 2007 Olympia.
Yeah.
Arnold Classic champ. Many, many victories over his career, and he's still racking them up. He just won another one.
Yeah.
I mean, final question for you. You just mentioned Kuwait. Do you have any plans to? Have you been over there? I know I should know this. Have you been to Oxygen Gym?
I went to Oxygen Gym last year for 7 weeks, almost 8 weeks. I trained those guys. It was a great experience. I don't think I was out there long enough. I was getting ready for a show, so I wasn't able to benefit too much from just, being out there long enough to put on enough muscle tissue, which is obviously what they're very good at.
Yeah.
Am I going back out there? A lot of people don't realize, but going out there is tough, man. It's not easy to just uproot your life for 2 months and say, all right, I'm going to Kuwait. The bills keep coming.
Yeah.
My mortgage, I can't call my mortgage company and say, hey, I'm not going to pay my mortgage for 2 months. I got to go out to Kuwait and train.
You also have a wife that you'd be leaving behind.
Yeah, well, she wasn't happy about it either. But, the bills keep coming. You got to keep making money somehow. So you can't just go out there and, like I said, uproot your whole life and not make any money, just eat, sleep, and train. I don't make that kind of money. Maybe Phil Heath can do something like that, or Ramy, or Kai. I certainly can't.
Yeah.
So that's the other really difficult part about it. And if I could, I would. Trust me. I mean, who the hell wouldn't want to just eat, sleep, and train?
But it's a meathead fantasy. It really is.
Yeah, exactly. So, but at this point in my career, I don't know if it's possible for me to do that.
Yeah.
Well, last year it was like I was just so desperate to figure things out. After having 2 years, I mean, they weren't horrible years, but I couldn't get it together, and I didn't know what it was. I was just relying on, coach after coach after coach. It's like, what the fuck? So I said, you know what? I'm just gonna go. I'm going to go. I'm going to see what these guys have to teach me and what they have to offer. And, you know, did I look better in Tampa? Yeah. I got beat by Roman Fritz. So.
You're pissed off all the Roman Fritz fans out there.
Roman Fritz is great. It's just like he's not, you know.
I know what you mean.
He's not in that top
right.
where I would be, you know. So that's how I took that. I was like, all right, well, that clearly didn't work. So go back to the drawing board, you know.
So what you're saying is it's not magic over there. I mean,
No.
Yeah.
Look, everybody's going to say, oh, he's bullshitting, he's lying. There's no magic drug out there. They don't have anything different out there that we do not have here. We live in the United States of America, guys. We can get our hands on any fucking thing we want.
Right.
And probably better quality.
Debatable, but who knows?
Oh, I know. Trust me, I saw some of the stuff that was out there.
Okay.
It's not any better than what we have here. I can guarantee that.
Okay.
So it's not drugs. It's literally that these guys are so very passionate about getting in the gym. And the trainers, Abdullah, Askar, Ahmed, all of the guys are super, super just, they're like tortured men. They just want to see you fucking scream and die. They push you literally to your absolute limit.
Yeah.
And it's every session. Twice a day for weeks on end. Yep. So you're going to get a response. If you're eating good, you're resting good, and you're training hard. That's all you do out there. There's no in-between shit. You're not going to the supermarket and buying your own food. Everything is set up for you. Everything is done for you. All you literally have to do is eat, sleep, and train. And that's the key. Everybody's like, well, was there IGF-1 out there? No, there was no IGF-1. There was none of that.
Huh. Okay. Yeah, I mean, I'd say most of these rumors come from people that haven't been there, and I've had a hard time pinning down anyone that's been there that was willing to speak on the record like you did. So I appreciate that. That's an insight that not too many people are giving up.
Yeah, I just look. I was once on the quest of what am I not doing right? Yeah. What am I missing? And this year, I think I was able to get myself back on track because it no longer was what am I missing? It's what am I not doing? That's the question we need to all step back and ask ourselves. What the fuck am I not doing that this guy is doing in the gym? I remember one of the first things my dad told me, and it's something that, like, you know, I don't really ask people what they do in the gym anymore. But I remember my dad telling me, you don't ever ask anybody what they're taking. You ask them how did you build that chest? What exercises are you doing for that chest? And you tell me, what are you eating at home? Tell me what you're eating. You eating a lot of beef, eating a lot of steak. It was never, hey, how many IUs of growth do you take?
Yeah.
That's the conversation that these kids are having now in the gym.
Yeah.
And they've stepped away from, hey, what kind of leg exercises are you doing to get quads like that? How did you build those quads?
Yeah.
It became, hey, how many cc's of this are you taking? How many? It's just so bad, you know. And I hate to see our sport going that way. And I think somebody needs to stand up. And if it needs to be me, I will. I tell people on my live feed on Instagram every day, look, if you're here to talk about drugs, you can get the fuck out of my room. We're not talking about drugs. Yeah. You want to ask me how many sets for chest I do? I'll talk to you all day about it. Yeah. I don't have the best chest, but I'll give you all the advice I can on that. Yeah. We can talk about stuff like that all day.
Well, you know, you bring up an interesting point. We could talk for hours, and we're not going to, but, you know, like you said, this is the first thing young guys ask about now is drugs, and there's so much more information. There's so much more. It's out there in a way that it never was before, and I don't see that it's translated into more muscular people walking around. I see less muscle in the gyms now than I did 10, 20 years ago when nobody was talking about drugs and nobody was asking how many IUs of this and how many. It's become to the point where, you know, we they laugh because, oh, you guys say drugs are just finishing touch here. You're trying to keep us from getting big. No,
Yeah.
no. It's because if you have everything else in place, you know how to train, you know how to eat, you know how to rest, then you add the drugs in, boom. But if you start off eating like shit, you train like a pussy, and you're out drinking and smoking dope all night with your buddies, and you think you're going to take some Tren and some GH and you're going to look like fucking Jonathan Delarosa? Anyway.
Absolutely. And you hit the nail on the head. That's exactly what's happening today. And I think, again, this all goes back to social media. It goes back to people that really, and again, I'm not going to mention names because, you know, I don't want to start internet drama, but there's a lot of people out there who have a humongous platform to be able to affect and teach people the proper way to do things, yet they'll turn that in just for more likes, be it. Let's just get that out there. This is all just for more likes and for a larger following, to be able to say I have 2 million followers. Instead of using that platform for good and teaching people, hey, you know what, there's a safe way to do things, but let's talk about nutrition, let's talk about training, let's talk about the proper supplementation to help you get these things. Then we can talk about those things. Yeah. Instead, they'll say, hey, well, watch me get to 340 pounds with this cycle.
Mm.
You know, it's just, that's the problem with social media.
Right.
There's not enough people that are willing to stand up and say, hey, and the truth is that the public they're not really interested in the truth anyways.
No.
Well,
not if the truth means you have to put some work in. They're not interested.
Right.
Well, you've been extremely generous with your time, Jonathan. I appreciate it very much. You talk about being a professional. You are a professional in every sense of the word.
Thank
the
you,
way you
Ron.
conduct yourself on and off stage, in every interview, every post on social media. You're an honorable, respectful guy, and I'm so glad that there are guys like you in the sport today, because there are some clowns out there that give us a bad image. But thank God there's still people like you out there that hopefully some of these young guys are looking to and thinking, maybe I could be like that guy.
Yeah.
Maybe I could have my shit together like this guy and do it the right way.
I've had amazing parents. I've had a lot of good people around me to help bring me up, and I've always had, you know, people like you cheering me on and making sure that I stayed on the straight and narrow, and I appreciate you guys for keeping me, you know, focused on what's good and you know, getting better every year. That's all. I could always be better. So that's the goal.
Well, I continue to be a fan. I want to see you do well. I want to see you make those improvements and become one of the best guys, because I do think that's your destiny. I want that to be your destiny. You know, I like to see the good guys do well in the sport, and you are one of the good guys. I can say that unequivocally.
Thank you.
So for the Ronline Report, I want to once again thank Jonathan Delarosa for joining us. Been a great interview. He's a great ambassador for the sport. Wishing him the best on and off the stage, life, business, everything. Thank you, John.
Thank you. Take it easy, guys.